Welcome back, love bugs. You already know what time it is. It is Sistas season 5, episode 1. I got my mocktail. I am ready to get in right into it. It's so juicy, child. Listen. So let's get into it. Let me get wait. Okay. So the season opens up where Fatima and Andy are in the office, right? And Fatima is all mad, like just steaming, talking about like, oh, I'm so heated. And Andy is like, why are you so heated? And she was like, girl, I just hate when people call people a bitch. She was like, Gary just called you a bitch. He came in and was asking for his lawyer. And she was like, well, Andy was like, I'm not his lawyer. And she was like, I know, but he called you a bitch, right? Child. Whew, Lord. Fatima, like, she about that life. You know what I'm saying? She's like ready to take off her earrings and everything. Like, she's like, because Andy was like, come on, we gonna go and address this, right? Then the next scene pans to Karen and Pam in the doctor's office, right? And Pam is like basically giving her a pep talk, like saying like, I'm inspired by you. I'm admired by you, though you are bad in the men department, but everything else, like, you a boss chick. So, you know, at that time, she was telling her like, I'm cool. I don't really need you here. Go back to the salon. Pam gets up. She then the phone rings. And it's her mom. And so she's like, and mind you, she's at the doctor's office because remember the last episode she was bleeding in front, and remember she's pregnant and she don't know who the baby daddy is. So, they're in the doctor's office trying to figure out what's going on, just to fill you in with that. So the phone rings and it's her mom, and she's like, where are you? And she was like, I'm at the hospital. Or the doctor's, no, she's like, the hospital. So she's like, tell me where you are, what's going on, I'm on my way. Girl. Then the next scene is Hayden and Gary talking about how he's a player. Child, where? Cause you played with Fatima, child, girl. So then Hayden talking about, I'm gonna get all your shit, I'm gonna get all your stuff back, and we gonna get that bitch back. Then as he's saying that, Andy walks in, right? Talking about what bitch? Child, Gary's telling her how he's suing her. And then, Fatima, she taking off her earrings, like, ooh, just give me permission. She turned around, give me permission to fuck them up. Like, ooh. And then she's like, proceeds to say, no, go ahead and step outside. Like, I got this, right? So then Andy sits down and she starts talking to Gary, and she's saying like, I'll give it like everything that you gave me is in my name. I'm going to be able to fight it. You know what I mean? So I don't understand. Like, you gave it to me but didn't pay the taxes on it. So I had to pay the taxes on it. And then she was like, I'm willing to give it all back to you if you refund me the money for the taxes. Like, I never wanted all of this. Like, as long as you pay me, I'll be fair. You know what I mean? I'll be fair and give it all back to you. Like, and, then he even asked Aiden, like, Hayden to leave because he wants to talk. And then Gary's like, I don't know what you do to me. Like, I just love you, like, so much, and I care about you, but I don't know what you did to me. And I know we're not good together, but I just, And she's like, and then he was like, is it Robin? Like, is Robin better than me? And that's the reason why you don't want to be with me? And she's like, it's not about that. We're just bad for each other, which is true. They're like horrible for each other. And then as she's crying, like, she's like basically saying like, we're done. Like, just say that we're over, because you need to realize that we're over. I'm willing to give you all this stuff. I never wanted it anyways. All I wanted was you. And then she walks away. Child. Why was the next scene Q on the phone with the detective, and he's saying like, calling, basically asking what happened with Sabrina and Maurice. And he's like, basically like, we got them and you're in the clear, you have no record anymore, and you will have to testify, but I'm gonna need you to get a job so that it can make it seem like you're a good person. Child. And then he's like, well, how am I supposed to do that? Like, you need to help me with that, girl. Then why Calvin walk in? He comes in asking like, why the hell you here? And he's like, what do you mean? Maurice told me that I can stay here. And then he's like, but why are you here? Like, you're not wanted here. Maurice don't want you here. And he's like, of course he does. Girl, why then Calvin was like, why do I keep on getting these calls from the correction facility, or like the station, right? And he's like all nervous. Q's all like, and girl, he getting all squeamish, and he's like, well, I made you dinner. You want to taste it? And then he's like, tasting it with his fork. And then he's like, here, you can eat it with the same fork. He was like, we not roommates. I mean, we roommates, but no, I'm good. So he goes and proceeds to go and get his own fork to eat dinner, right? Child, like, I'm so over that whole situation, like, for real. Ugh. Then the next thing, child, is Karen's mom walking into the hospital, and she gives her a hug, and she's like, Karen proceeds to tell her that she's pregnant. And she was like, her mom was like, oh, well, let me go ahead and call Zach. And she's like, mm-mm. And she was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I don't know who's the father. And then she was like, you still love Zach, huh? And she was like, yeah. And her mom proceeds to tell her, like, I remember when you were little and your dad was the same way. And I remember how I felt about him when he got a new woman. And her mom was saying she felt so angry because she watched this woman reap everything that she sowed into him. And child, listen, okay? I need a drink, honey, because I'm trying my hardest not to cry, because that made me almost want to cry, okay? Because I just feel like a lot of times, I'm not, Jesus, I'm not. I feel like a lot of times you're in these fucked up relationships, and I don't know why the relationship is so hard, and you're such a good person, but they leave, and then somebody else is benefiting from everything that you wanted them to be at that time for you, but they for some reason couldn't be that person for you. But then they go off, and then they're this perfect person for somebody else. And it's just like, it just makes you boil, because you're like, fuck, that's supposed to be what I'm supposed to have. You know what I mean? So I totally understand, like, Karen's situation in that. And I understand her mom giving her advice, like, you just need to let that go, because you'll be such a better person. I totally get it, right? Then it pans to Fatima and Andy. They're basically like kind of talking as, Fatima is giving the clerk her paperwork and everything for her to send to the messenger or whatever, and she's walking out with Andy, and then Andy's like, oh, I love this glow on you. It's the glow for me, honey. It's the glow for me. And she's like, yeah, if it was good to be, because I'm going home to my man. And she's like, oh, I can't wait to have that one day. And Andy, Fatima's like, yeah, I love him, and I just love feeling that way. So as she's saying that, she turns around, and Zach's walking in the door. Child, ooh, I was like, yes, Fatima. Anyways, so he was like, oh, I'm going to take my baby on a date. We going on a date. And then they turn around, child, and why was hating ass standing there talking about why is the criminal here? Like, why is the criminal here? I got, I have a restraining order on him. Wow. The next scene pans to this lady walking up in the airport, talking, to Danny, and she's like complaining to her man why he didn't get first class. She talking all this shit and being very disrespectful to him. Then she's like asking Danny, like, why is it taking so long? Why is our flight not ready? Like, what's going on? And she's like, ma'am, calm down. Nah, we gonna get this bitch fired. That's what the lady's saying, right? And Danny's like, ma'am, calm down. Like, she's like, nah, get your manager. And she's like, she'll be here in a few minutes. Give her, in a few minutes. Danny was hella tested, child. But when I tell you, Danny kept her composure, even though I think she was like, bitch, sit your ass down. Period. And guess what she did? She sat her ass down. Hello. Goodbye. Child, and then the next scene is showing Aaron's walking into the salon, I guess because he had been calling Karen all day and she hadn't been answering her phone. So he comes to the salon. He's like asking Pam, like, Pam, where's Karen? And she was like, she's not here. She's not here. So he was like, well, I've been calling her all day. And she was like, so that made you feel like you should just come up here? And he was like, I'm concerned with her. I'm just trying to make sure that she's okay. And then as he's like, I guess, about to leave somewhat or kind of calling her, then Andy walks up. And he turns and he's like, Andy, have you talked to Karen? And she's like, no. And then he was like, well, can we have some, can we go to the office and have a talk, right? And, he goes in there and he's basically looking for advice. Like, he's trying to ask, like, does she still love Zach? Like, what's going on? Does she care about me? Like, what should I do? And she's like, don't, when Karen has had enough and she needs her space, she's going to get her space. Regardless of anything, she's going to get her space. So don't, give her space, but don't, like, not be on her. Like, be concerned still, And then she then proceeds and asks, like, did you give Gary advice to sue me? And he was like, hell no. And then he proceeds to say, like, Gary is a good person, he just has some issues. And then he keeps on, asking her, like, have he told you about his story and, like, told you about his mom? Like, and she's like, yeah, he's told me, but does that give him the right to be an asshole and be who he is? And he's like, no, it doesn't. I'm just asking to make sure like, his background or where he's come from, to kind of better understand who he is and why he is. And then they kind of walk out, and then Andy doesn't leave. She stays right there with Karen, not Karen, but Pam. And she's like asking, like, Pam, what's going on? Like, where is Karen? And she's like, she's not really telling her, like, nothing. And then the next scene shows Zach and Fatima. They're getting out the car and they, like, in this parking lot. And, she's like, where are we? And he was like, this is the place where my life changed. Like, my whole complete life changed right here in this parking lot. And I thought that was, like, the sweetest thing. Because I guess you remember when they first met, like, he was coming out of the police station, basically. And she hit him, and he was on a bicycle. So he was like, this is the moment in which my life changed. And she was like, yeah, I was running late that day. And he was like, if you would have been on time or I came out a little early, we would have missed each other. And or he would have came out later, they would have missed each other. But, it was a purpose and that met. It was like on purpose, And she was like, oh, that was so sweet. And child, for a minute, I thought like he was gonna propose to her. I was like, oh, this is so sweet. I'm not ready. Like, I'm ready because I'm dressed, but I wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, ooh, it was just, that moment. It wasn't that moment, But he was like, promise me that no matter how difficult our relationship gets or how if we fuck up at some point, just I want us to be here in this moment, like and stay and here, come back here. And then she was like, he then tells her to close her eyes and imagine the man that you want, your dream man, so that I can make sure that I'm better than that. And she was like, child, I don't need all that. I have the man that I imagine. I have the man. But she was like, she opened her eyes and was like, was this it though? Because a bitch was hungry. And he was like, you stay hungry. And then, they left. And that was the date. But, it was like sweet. And he was like, I'm trying to be romantic and stuff and, be all sweet. And you ruin it. And then, child, then it goes to the scene where Sabrina, they finally, showed Sabrina. They show Sabrina walking into the police station, and like she's getting checked into, the station or whatever. And the lady's like asking, is that your real hair? And she's like, ma'am, no, it's not my hair. And she was like, well, can you take it out? And she was like, well, it's kind of difficult, like it's faux locks or whatever she said. And she was like, it's kind of difficult to take out. And she proceeds to be like, but I'm not a criminal. Like, I need to call my lawyer. Like, I don't need to be coming here. This is not, for me. And she was like, calling the officers like, oh, she's an unruly person. Like, can you just go and take her? And then she's like, oh, and that's not her real hair. I'm like, child, she didn't. I don't understand why Black women have to be so mean to each other. And especially when you are in authority over someone else, I don't understand why they have to make things so fucking difficult. Like, she could have been a little bit nicer to her. Like, you know what I'm saying? You see you another black woman, like, you don't have to be mean like that. It was not necessary. But anyways, and then the closing scene, child, it goes to Danny, because Danny's calling Sabrina, like, where is she? Like, where are you? And then child Preston walks up. Now, remember, a couple episodes before season 4, Preston had went home, because he was like, there's nothing here for me, I'm going home. So she was like, I thought you were going home. And he was like, no. And he proceeds to say, like, I love you, Danny. And then he starts, you know, telling his story, which Danny was like, why are you telling me? And he was like, I was dating this girl named Mindy. She and I was, you know, we've been liking each other since like elementary school on the playground. And we had dated kind of all my life. And I told her I needed a break. And that's when I came out here and I found you. And the whole time I've been out here, I've been running around behind you. But if you tell me in this moment that you don't want me anymore, I'm going to go home and marry Mindy. I'm going to go home and go to the playground and I'm going to marry Mindy. I'm going to propose to Mindy. So she was like, why are you telling me? She's getting all choked up like, oh, that's so sweet and romantic. Like, she's getting all choked up. But then she's like, why are you telling me? And I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, girl, like, because he's like, Mindy loves me like exactly who I am and how I want to be loved. But I love you and I care about you. And it's just like, sometimes I be like, dang, I want to shake Danny and be like, girl, you know, deep down in your heart, you love that man. And I don't understand why, for whatever reason, you don't want to work through whatever it is that you know, don't like about him. Like, he's a sweet dude and he really cares about you. So I'm like, you gonna let this guy that you care about go off and get married? Child, if that were me and I was in that situation, child, and I was not married, and I was in that situation, whoever it was that was like, you know, like that in that moment, child, I would have been like, okay, I'm gonna date you, I'm gonna marry you, we gonna get together, okay? I don't understand why for the life of me that she's giving that man a hard time. Like, I don't understand why for the life of me she is giving that man a hard time. Like, Danny just needs to tell him okay and start dating him so he can let Mindy go, because I feel like they're for each other. You know what I mean? Like, once she can get past all that, he's a really caring dude. It's just, of course, you know, things need to be worked through, because they just need to be worked through, like, so he can understand, like, black women and things of that sort. But it's not obtainable. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get that. You can get that, Danny. You can't find love all the time and somebody that genuinely cares about you like that. So when you get it and they trying to put a ring on it, grab it and hold on to it, honey. Period. Okay? Because ain't nobody gonna love you like that and go through your shit with you like that, honey. Oh, God. I'm just saying. Period. Now, you know what time it is, child. You already know it is now tweet time. Okay? The episode is juicy. I done seen a little clip for number 2, episode 2. And, child, it's even juicier. I can't wait till next week so we can be here again. But let's go on and get these tweets, child, okay? So the first tweet is from D Love. Pam, tell that man his baby mama is in the hospital. Shit. I'm just saying, like, why? I get it and I understand that you know, she don't want to be bothered, but he has every right to know, because, you know, he just got the right to know. The next one is from Nicole Smith. I don't even feel bad for Andy. She been stupid for 4 seasons straight. That's on her. Okay, I kind of agree. Like, I've been telling Andy for a long time now that she just needs to let him go. So she didn't need to accept all the gifts and things of that sort. And yes, as women, we kind of get so lost and caught up on the fantasy of somebody taking care of us or pampering or tricking on us. But the realistic part of it is that he was never for her. And I feel like she should have sat in that instead of like the beer goggles, thinking of something that's not, you know what I'm saying? And then the next one is Django. Jane, this person said they need to stop making excuses for Karen's nasty behavior. I agree. And I'm like, I know that she's pregnant and all this, and that still, again, is an excuse. But she just needs to get it together. Like, Karen really needs to get it together. She needs to maybe go to therapy so that she can get over Zach and be able to cope with the fact that it might not be his baby. And then also go to therapy in case it is his baby, so she can be able to then move on and know that they will be co-parenting and that kid could potentially have a stepmom. So she really needs to sort through that. And I think counseling, hopefully he'll write that in. Counseling will be the best thing for Karen and her character to sort that through. And then the last one is I am Shanice. Aaron has the right to know if Karen is okay, because that's potentially carrying his baby. Like, I agree. I said that earlier. Like, I don't understand why information is being held. Like, yes, she might not want to be bothered, but at least let him know that she's in the hospital so that he can know where she is, because I mean, she that's kind of sort of potentially baby mama. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, whew, stressing me out with that. I need a drink. Oh, and if you guys are wondering what this is mint and watermelon juice. I'm not drinking a cocktail. It's a mocktail. But anyways, child, this episode was so juicy and so delicious, honey. I was slurping it all up, okay? And, you know, I had to glam it up for the first, you know, the season 5. I had to season it. I mean, I had to zhuzh it up for you guys as we premiered the season 5, episode 1, and I can't wait to get into the rest of the season. I hope it's written very well, and I hope and pray that Karen finally gets over Zach, child. And yeah, until next week, same time, same place. You already know what it is, Sister, and tomorrow's the Tima, same time, same place, child. You already know what the deal is. I love you guys to pieces. Honey, I love you guys to pieces, darling. Like, share, subscribe. You already know. Share all of it. Make sure you guys comment so that we can go ahead and keep this thing going on the YouTube page. Your feedback, my feedback, and keep it coming. Keep it coming. Love you guys. Mwah.